So here we have our finished proxy model, and I'm going through and I linked up, I grouped the different sections of the body, so forearm, upper arm, torso, thighs, etc. Now I'm going through and adjusting the pivot points of those groups just to make sure that when they rotate, they're going to rotate from the right place. It's going to make things a lot easier when we're posing this in a few minutes. So then I'm also linking up the groups using the link tool there, just so that when you move a thigh, the lower leg and feet will move also, etc. You just want it to move basically like a person moves, like you'd expect it to move. So it's really, you can kind of run into problems sometimes when you're linking things, linking groups, and I'll be honest, I don't fully explain it or fully understand it, but you just kind of keep filling with it till you get it. So you can see here I actually ran into a problem getting this thigh to link up with the lower torso here. Beginning, I liked a lot of things about that pose, the kind of wide stance, and he looked like he was kind of on guard with the shield, and I think it was a pretty dynamic pose. So I'm going to look to do something real similar to that. He's going to have the big whips coming off one hand and the shield coming off the other. So I want to make sure the feet are pretty much on a level plane. Doesn't have to be exact, depending on how you're going to render it out, but it's generally a good idea. So just going into my multiple views here, so I can actually see it from mostly looking at the left over there. And you can cheat it down too. You can see how kind of breaking the connection there on the foot. Some of the geometry is crashing into each other, and don't want that to happen. So this is a concept, just trying to get it to look the way that you want it to look in the end, and then you make adjustments along the way. Because like I said earlier, it's difficult when you're modeling it just in that kind of orthographic view straight on, when he's just kind of with his hands at his side, feet straight. It's hard to think how, or to imagine how he's really going to look when he's in a cool pose. So you might need to mess with the scale of some of these objects here. So just moving different body parts around, kind of playing with the pose here. This is a great thing about doing this in 3D. It's pretty fun to do this after you've got your proxy model done, and just trying to get the best pose rather than drawing it and having it not quite look right, then trying to move things around in Photoshop and the perspective's off, whatever. This way you get it the way you want it and render it out, and it's good to go, and you're not going to have to redo things because it looks the way you want it to. Just thinking about how to do this right arm here. You're making it look like maybe he's about to whip, or if he's kind of more at rest. Just scaled up that lower arm there. It was looking a little weak. Doing the same over here, just making those forearms larger. They're a pretty important part of this design. Feeling a little wimpy, so here I'm changing the field of view, just increasing it up to 60. So that's going to make the perspective a little more extreme. Sometimes that can really help to make things feel larger, but it's going to distort things more. So you got to play with it. Some people respond a lot better to that kind of really extreme field of view, and sometimes it just kind of makes the model just look deformed. So it really just depends on your design and your pose. So even though I link these things up, to work with this pose, I can basically not care about the links and just move things around so it looks good for the image. Trying to get that arm where I want. I think it's too far forward though. One challenging thing about doing a model in 3D and then painting over it though sometimes is actually picking the best perspective, because sometimes you feel like it looks good from a number of perspectives and you want to show different things about it. Show it from the front and the side, and it can be challenging just to pick one angle that's best. But then you always have the you can always render it out different views. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll do my beauty shot and then do a couple, kind of like round table type thing, do a couple different views and just label it as proxy model, so people can get an idea for the form, but they're not all detailed out. So here I just adjusted the material some so it would have a little bit of specularity, just to see what the materials are going to look like once I render it out, just see how it's going to pop. Then I just did a couple test renders there. Just hit F9 and Max does a quick little render. It's not quite, the pose is not quite there yet, so just trying to find what needs to happen here. Stuff don't really line up, so I can go back in and fix that here in the model stage, or I can just draw over that in Photoshop. Just depends. I'm really liking those Gatling guns up near his head. I think that's pretty sweet. Also the fins and the thighs. It's probably my two favorite elements here. Oh, he's doing a cool little dance there. So you can see down at the on the animation on the slider, I set it to auto key. So that's a way, sometimes where if you get one pose you think is looking pretty cool, you can kind of just set keys and then go to another place in the slider, just have the auto key on and move things around, and then you can go back and forth. So you can, if you want to involve, an art director or production designer or whatever in the decision of the pose, that's a great way to do it. Just give them a couple options real quick. So here I'm just kind of adjusting where the different pieces would go when he would bend, where the knee would be. Imagine those knee guard pieces would kind of pop out when the knee bends. Have some nice negative space behind them. Kind of reveal more of the stuff. It's just as those plates move, they reveal the darker intricate stuff underneath it. It's pretty cool. Just brightening up the rendering environment settings so I can see some more of it. So this pose is getting there. So now I'm just going in and adjusting individual pieces. Got to ungroup. So once you ungroup, you're kind of committing that limb to where it's at. So you got to make sure it's in a good position. Then just going into the individual pieces, like I said, just making sure things aren't clipping too bad or geometry's not crashing. Trying to find a good position for that hand. It's kind of got a unique like double thumb thing going on, so I'd like to be able to show that, but these jet pods, I want to get them in a nice spot where they don't look like they're part of the shoulders, but still I like the having that one on the right kind of be revealed under the arm. I generally like to put kind of something protruding back, lighting on things in the back like that. So here's just some pieces on the side of the torso. Just adjust them so they look good in the pose. So this pose is looking pretty good now. I think this, just move some pieces around here a little bit. And this guy is basically ready. I think he's ready for the whips now. That's that'll be up next. I'm just going to save the file, and we will be good to go.